Hi guys, welcome to Lenette Looks. Today I'm going to be discussing the third book in his Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman, and it is the Amber Spyglass, and he really didn't disappoint. I'm going to try not to spill all the tea in this book. I'm going to try not to have any spoilers, but I cannot promise, but I will definitely let you know during the discussion if I'm going to say something that I think might be a huge spoiler, so that way you can stop the video, or if you want to be spoiled, just keep watching. So anyway, in this book we follow Will and Lyra, the main characters again. There's more adventure, there's more destruction, or I would say war. The war is brewing and about to happen in this third book. In the second book, we learned that Lyra is prophesied to be a particular person in history who the magisterium or the authority of the church is definitely not happy about her becoming this or thinking that she is this particular person, and they are out to get her. You know what? I'm gonna just put spoilers in the title. I don't want to review this and let it be a bland, boring review without much detail. I do want to emphasize certain parts of this book because I don't know, I don't want to overlook it. It was just the meat and bones are there, and I don't want to leave too much to the imagination. I want to just give you like bits and pieces, and I don't know if for some people it would be too much, so I might just put in the title that, you know, it has some spoilers. But anyway, she is predicted to be this person in history who the church does not want a certain event to have happen again. Lyra is being sought after, not in a good way at all. And I must say that somebody from the authority is out to get her. And so we learn who she's set out to be in the second book. And the second book is The Subtle Knife. And in this book is continuing that theory, that idea about Lyra. So we start off where Will and Lyra are not together. Will is searching for her, and so he's on a journey, a search to find Lyra. And it was shocking to me who was keeping her against her will. It was such a surprise, it was such a shock. That made it more interesting, of course, because honestly, like Philip Pullman, along the way in reading his style, he really does put a sense of unpredictability. And I like that because it's like you would think certain things would happen and he goes against the grain and he does something else. You know, he's keeping your interest. So she's being held, and Will is trying to find out where she is. This is the final part where all the characters, you know, storylines basically get finalized. I was happy with the way he put the things together for each character. I was also surprised about the way in which he went about the relationships between the characters, specifically the two main characters, Will and Lyra. We also find out what Lyra's parents are up to. We learned that Lyra's parents, throughout the first and second book, they really never showed her love and affection the way loving parents would show a child or their child. And so that element, which is huge, was missing from her life, from both of them. And the church basically raised Lyra. So it's sort of a twist where the church kind of like raised her, but then again, they don't like who she is becoming, and they're going to try to stop her. And that's all I'm going to say. They're going to try to stop her from doing something that they feel is evil. We have this war brewing with the authority. So anyway, we find out what Lyra's parents are up to and what their purpose is, or what their main agenda is regarding the world and their plans, and does it include their daughter or does it not include their daughter. And I was very surprised at the turning of events between them and what happened, what they decided or chose to do in this wrap up. It was shocking because I thought that something else was going to happen. I thought that they had another motive, and I was surprised to find out how they acted out. I was happy with how the author finalized their story and their part in this trilogy. Will, he's traveling with two angels, and you find out what their motives are, what their purpose is with Will, and why they're traveling with him, why they wanted to seek him out. And that was another adventure, or another storyline that I thought was quite interesting. I was really interested to see what Lyra's father, Lord Asriel, had planned for Will, because in the second book, you know that Lord Asriel wants the subtle knife, and he wants Will to give him the subtle knife. He has plans for it. So this totally wrapped up what his plans were. Again, there's a huge twist to this, and I didn't see it coming. And I really like the way he wrote this, because you think something is going to happen and then something else happens, and then you're like, wow, the turning of events in this story is just surprising. He keeps your interest in throughout the whole book. You also get to experience two other worlds, actually. The world building in this book was super interesting. You get to experience the world of the dead, and you get to experience another world. So physicist Mary Malone, she's in a new world, and she gets to meet these new creatures, and they are called the Mulefa. She communicates with them, and they're pretty intelligent creatures. And it was interesting to see this world, to find out what they do and what they are in this story. And it was also interesting that she wasn't that afraid of them, because it's a totally new world, total new creatures, and basically she's the alien in there. She didn't seem like she was afraid, but more like really interested in them. She did have some fear in the beginning, but then that slowly subsided. You get to find out about the Amber Spyglass, what does it do, and what you can see through the Amber Spyglass. And I will leave the mystery there. Will and Lyra, they also visit the world of the dead. This was really morbid, I would say, at least for me. You know, it was kind of morbid reading about, you know, this world and what he created and how he wanted the afterlife to be presented here in this third book. The way the world was described was sad, and it was kind of not what I thought it would have been. It was really interesting, this world, how he just mocked up that world of the dead, and you get to meet the people, and you get to find out more about the way it's set up. All in all, I really enjoyed the book. There were so many adventures, so many twists, so many new surprises that came about, and I really enjoyed it. I must say that number 1, The Golden Compass, is still my favorite out of the 3 books, but I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the world building. I enjoyed even the controversial aspect. I can see now that I read it how controversial it might be, or it would be, and it was, and it is, however you want to put it. Past, present, and future future readers might have a bone to pick with it. Maybe you won't. I see it as it's a fictional story, and it definitely is something that can invoke conversation on the topics of death and life and religion and authority, and going against someone who is an authority that is doing something wrong or abusing their power. So I can see from reading this, it could push some people's buttons on religion and everything, and I can see that. But overall, I think it was a great storytelling, you know, because that's what basically this is a storytelling, and the adventures and the concepts and the remaking of life, how he chose to mock it up. You know, this is all like made up or make believe, and that's the whole point in reading books, because you get lost in the whole make believe of it all. Another thing that might be a huge spoiler is that this book was said to be the retelling of Adam and Eve, the story of Adam and Eve. That to me was quite interesting. So looking at it in that way, when you read the book, you can kind of try to piece things together on how it might relate to that story in history. The ending of this book, I must say, really was, man, it was bittersweet. I was fighting. I didn't want to have fighting in my mind. I didn't want to have certain parts of it, what needed to happen with the knife, because they find out using the knife to open worlds has side effects. And because of those side effects, something has to happen. That was really eye-opening, and it was bittersweet. I wasn't expecting it, but it was happening, and then I was like, oh no. It was so sad. I respected it at the same time, because the level of responsibility that had to be played out was played out, and I was like, wow. That took a lot of guts and courage and confront to have that decision, know that decision has to be made, and actually make it and go through with it and be okay with that decision. You know, this knife has so much power, and you've seen it in history, like something with that much power has possibly a side effect or a what do you call it, something else happens that is a bad thing. I gave this book 5 stars on Goodreads. I don't know how else to explain it, but the adventures were there. The chemistry between certain characters, well, most of the characters had relationships that you just find really interesting. The book will open your eyes and make you look at things the way in which the author, I guess, highlights for things to be. It's a total recreation, a total rearrangement of something in history. It's just reimagining, and the adventures and the relationships and the fact that the way the worlds that he built, the way the concept of the subtle knife and what it does and how it works, just all of that just kept my interest. The shock factor of certain things that are said that, wow, was shocking, was very shocking. He like really went for what he wanted to portray and how he wanted to portray certain things that are very controversial. He put it there, and certain things were said, and you're like, wow, like that was actually said. You know, it's mind-blowing. So the wow factor is there, the adventures, the way everything was wrapped up for the characters, I thought was clever. And Lyra and Will, I love their friendship. I love them together. I love the demons, your spirit is outside of your body, for certain characters that are from that particular world that they live in, except Lyra lives in a world where, you know, your spirit is outside your body. And then Will is like a, you know, regular person that you do not see their soul, and he cannot talk to his soul outside of his body as if he had a friend there, you know. So there's world building, there's different worlds you get to see here. There's controversy, there's shock, a load of shock factors in this book. There's magic, with the subtle knife. There is otherworldly events that happen. There's a war, there's fights, there's battles, the fighting between the abuse of authority that he's highlighted in this book and going against that. So if you've liked anything that I've said so far, I think you will like this third book. And also, if I didn't say this in the beginning, I did reviews on the first book, book 1 in this trilogy, The Golden Compass, and the second book, The Subtle Knife. So I will definitely put the links in the description so you can watch that if you haven't already. Let me know what you thought if you read this book. How did you like how he wrapped everything up? What did you like the most, or what did you dislike? If you haven't read this book, go ahead and read all 3 books and come back here and comment and tell me what you thought of them. On that note, guys, I will see you on the next one.